So guys, Hell Let Loose Update 6 came out today, and it features a brand new map, new vehicles, and a whole new projectile ballistic system. And not just that, but there's a ton of other smaller tweaks and changes in this one as well. So guys, this is BillyEatWorld again, and let's find out. Alright guys, how you going? Welcome to the video, and first up I should start by pointing out that if you haven't already figured out by now, this is an unusually massive update. Because like I said, there's the new map, Hill 400, and the two armoured cars we talked about a few weeks back, but really that only fills about one page of over 20 pages of patch notes. And so we're going to get into that big stuff in just a bit. But the first thing I want to talk about in this video is the new ballistic system, and most importantly, the tweaks the devs have made to hit detection. Because like I said in the last video, way more than, say, a new map, this is actually something that has the potential to either drastically improve or maybe even break the game. So what have the devs actually done? Well, like we talked about in the last video, they've replaced the old hit scan ballistic system with a brand new, fully projectile-based one. And like I said, to go along with this, they've also redesigned hit detection because they themselves admitted they were really worried about the network impact the new ballistic system was going to have. Now, they haven't really given us too much specific information on exactly what they've done, but what we do know is that they've added in a new latency compensation system with high ping players in mind, because they know that Hell Let Loose, being an indie game, is not always going to fill servers with people from the same region. So inevitably, the system will have to deal with high ping players. Now, once again, we don't know too much about how it works, but the devs did mention in the last dev briefing that they were testing the new system at up to 400 ping. And so while I didn't seem to notice too many issues playing on local servers at around 5 to 20 ping, I'm guessing it is going to be pretty different when you choose to play out of region. Now, unfortunately, I didn't actually get the chance to play on any high ping servers today, so if you guys have, well, I'm really interested to hear what you think of the new system in the comment section down below. And not just that, but the devs are too. They, quote, expect teething issues, and apparently they're going to do their best to work with the community over the next few weeks to jump on and fix any bugs as soon as they possibly can. Now, just to finish up on this point, as for my first impressions of the new ballistic system, well, honestly, in my opinion, I actually didn't really notice it that much. And that's probably because apparently the devs have tried to model the new ballistics on real-world weapon stats. And so basically the bullets seem to travel pretty fast and pretty flat, at least at closer ranges. Now, you will obviously need to learn to lead your targets at longer ranges though, so apparently what the devs have done is added in an option you can turn on to enable you to see your bullets. And obviously I should point out that the difference is going to be much more noticeable on weapons like sniper rifles. So once again, if you've actually had the chance to try those out in the last day or so, well, please let me know what you think down below. Alright, so moving on from the boring meta stuff, let's actually get on to the new map, Hill 400, which, as you can see, not surprisingly, looks a lot like Hurtgen Forest. And just to bring you up to speed, if you didn't catch my video on this map from a few weeks back, well, that's because that Hill 400 is actually still part of the Hurtgen area. As you can see though, Hill 400 is a lot steeper than the vanilla map though, and I've got to say it looks like the devs have put a lot more work into this one as well. And in particular, I think they've done a really good job at designing the strong points, especially Hill 400 itself, which is basically a big, huge fortified trench system on top of the mountain. Now, the footage you can actually see here is from the warfare mode, which as you can see is running more of a sunnier, daytime preset, whereas offensive mode has got a much more darker and foggier twilight sort of preset, which obviously makes things a lot harder to see. And speaking of things being harder to see, well, that's probably my biggest criticism of this map in general. With all of the trees, you're rarely going to know where you're getting shot from. But in saying that though, like I said, the strong points are pretty well designed and they're mostly separated from the forest itself. So the rule of thumb is if you stay on the objectives, well, it's going to be a lot more fun because you're actually going to know who you're shooting at and where you're getting shot from. Now, just finally on the topic of maps, well as Hill 400, the other big map related thing we have to talk about in this update is the overhaul the devs have done to Utah Beach, which as you can see is looking a lot more detailed now. Basically, they've gone in and added more cover, they've changed out a lot of the buildings and some of the vegetation. Now, as well as that, one of the other things they've done is cut paths through some of the barbed wire, which you might remember was pretty annoying on some parts of the map. But apart from that though, there's really not that much more to say. It's still the same old Utah Beach map, and it still plays out in the same sort of ways. It's just better now. It looks better, it feels better, and overall, it's a lot more fun. Now, just before we finish up, I just want to touch on a few main things in the patch notes that unfortunately I didn't have a chance to check out myself today, but you guys will probably still want to know about. Like, for example, the new commander abilities. You can now spawn in vehicles, you can remove garrisons, and most importantly, you can spawn in a recon plane. Now, like I said, I didn't get a chance to try out the recon plane for myself, but what I did notice was the little spot markers that it places on the map to show the location of enemy players, which, by the way, I should mention are static. They're not like spot markers, for example, in Battlefield games. They don't update and follow you around as you move, and not just that, but they're also not visible in the 3D world. Also, speaking of spotting, another thing that I should mention, and yet another thing I haven't had a chance to try out yet, is the new armored cars, which you might remember the devs have been calling recon vehicles, which I thought might have meant they were actually tied to recon squads, but apparently that's not actually the case. Turns out it's the commander that spawns these in, but in saying that, the devs did mention they are intended to be used as recon vehicles and not purely as fast wheeled tanks. Apparently, the observer seat in these vehicles has some neat spotting abilities as well. So just remember that, because according to the devs, quote, these vehicles are designed to be incredibly powerful if used appropriately. But anyway, to finish up, the last thing I want to quickly mention is that another important but less flashy part of this update is that it also upgrades the engine to Unreal version 4.2.4. And look, that doesn't really mean much to me. Maybe it means a little bit more to you. But the last point I want to make is that it was really refreshing to jump into this update and not have any performance issues at all. Which honestly, when it comes to updates, I think is super important. You might remember the other day we took a look at Postscriptum's new major update, which ended up being a bit disappointing because it did have frame rate issues. So just finally, I just want to give a big thumbs up to the devs for Update 6, not only for putting it out while working from home, but also for putting it out and not breaking the game and actually delivering on optimizing the game as they promised. But anyway, guys, that just about wraps it up for this quick update video. So as always, make sure you let me know what you think in the comment section down below. And just remember that I can't possibly cover all of the details of these dev briefings in just one video. So if you do want some more information, as always, I'll put all of the relevant links in the description for you guys to check out. As always, though, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and please feel free to check out the links in the description if you want to see any more of these videos. And also, don't forget you can find my Twitter and Discord links down there as well if you want to keep in touch. And as always, until next time, see you later, and have a good one.